So I think a lot of people, when they think about accommodations that are environmentally sound, they think of yurts and mud huts and teepees, but this is pretty elegant.
Well, all those ways are valid, but we're in a mainstream business here, and we have mainstream customers primarily. We didn't want to compromise on luxury, and we didn't. So without any compromise to luxury whatsoever, these passive and active solar designs have already given us a gain of at least half of the normal energy bills. So imagine what could be achieved if you did compromise on luxury. Like, for example, in your own home. I don't think it would necessarily be appropriate for our business to be compromising on luxury, and indeed it's not. Guests won't see anything different from other luxury lodges. In fact, in many cases, guests comment on how much nicer it feels. Yeah.
How do you generate enough electricity to keep this place functioning?
Well, we don't actually generate any electricity at all, Richard. What we've done, we looked at solar photovoltaic versus solar water heating, and discovered at the time, which is 4 years ago when it was built, that the water heating per kilowatt produced was something like 10 times more cost effective. So what we actually did was concentrate on ways which the hot water could be used to reduce the need for electricity in the first place. And then the remaining electricity from normal appliances, lights and one or two appliances, we try to minimise that as well through controllers and low energy devices. But really what we're concentrating on there is only about 20 or 30% of all the power requirements of the place. Most of those have been taken away by the solar system using the hot water, and those are supplemented by gas, in our case bottled gas, but it could equally be done by many other ways, many other power sources.
And those are a couple of the solar panels that capture?
Yeah, we have 8 of those, Richard. They're manufactured in China, and they're what's called evacuated solar tubes. Each tube is removable. It has a copper pipe inside a vacuum, and a cooling substance within that copper pipe, which has a latent heat process. It loses heat to water, which passes through the manifold at the top of each one. And I said we had 8, even though we only have about each one of those would be one household equivalent panel if they were using it for hot water. This complex is about 3 household equivalents, but we have 8 of those panels, not to show off, but because we're not just using it for hot water, we're using it for our underfloor and also for our hot tub. So again, it's that philosophy. Hot water solar heating is relatively cheap per kilowatt, so what can we use it for? That was our design philosophy.
So this is a beautiful piece of architecture, and it looks very much like any sort of chalet or lodge that you might find in any alpine region of the world, but it's different. So how is it different?
Yeah, well, we were trying to be historically sensitive as well as environmentally friendly. So we had some themes to run with here. The history of this area was the original Wanaka Homestead, and there were some old farm sheds on this site, so we didn't want to lose that theme. But at the same time, we didn't want any disadvantages of yesteryear. So we've kept the same styles, but gone for really good passive qualities and solar design as well. So even though everything looks very mainstream, the large faces like this one, for example, the ones that face north, which is the sunshine face in the southern hemisphere, those have the largest windows. They're very, very well insulated, and quite the opposite on the southerly faces, which never get the sun. Very few windows at all. And this is one of our bedrooms. You can see the themes are pretty similar to the rest of the building. Again, it's low energy, stylish. The art and the woodwork are the features, whereas the walls are relatively plain and understated to give it that kind of classy and timeless feel.
Yeah, an aesthetic feel to it. Okay, so what it is about the specific rooms that makes the design or the architecture or the furnishings less bad than traditional rooms?
Well, same factors really, Richard. It's super well insulated, so it's not losing any heat. For example, this wall here, it's 250 mil thick with 2 layers of. This is a reinforced concrete wall, but it's a self-insulated one in a polystyrene block system, with the relatively noise-proof sound barrier of the stonework on the outside of that. Again, there's the double glazed timber joinery. That goes around the perimeter of the whole room, so it's super well insulated. And then if you take the lights, for example, we've got the low energy lights there, even though they don't look like low energy lights. And even these over here are low energy. So underneath here, just a normal fluorescent light. you'd never guess. And if you look at the small print, it says 827 on it.
Uh-huh.
And that's that warm colour number. So that gives you a yellowy light as if it was a normal light. You'd never know.
So the lights, how much more efficient are they than traditional incandescent bulbs?
I believe it's about 1/5 of the power consumption. So,
Oh, boy,
and
that's
you
pretty-
really can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
But they do actually suit places where they can stay on for a long time. If it's on, off, on, off, on, off, maybe that's not the appropriate place to put a fluoro light.
So if the rest of the world adopted this philosophy of building, how would it make a difference?
Well, we did it commercially and still achieved a win-win where we have lower bills than normal. Our bills are so low that it's more than offsets the mortgage repayments on those improvements.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a building which feels nice to be in. This room, for example, you'd never even see a radiator in here. It's all the underfloor heating, which again is preheated by solar. It's not on right now. It's not even required because the passive qualities of the building haven't got wintry enough to actually require it. No need for electric blankets here. The room's always going to be warm.
So I mean, it makes a big difference individually. Economically, it's a great argument as to why we should go this direction. But also in a global way, if everybody did this, it would make an enormous difference in the amount of energy that we consume and the type of energy that we use.
Precisely. It personally drives me nuts that we constantly invent ways to generate more instead of invent ways to consume less. And to me, it's the way forward. With just a few tiny little efforts that we made, our energy bills are half of what's normal. That's commercially. At home, I'm quite convinced we can reduce our consumption by 80% if we were to design our own new build. So if you applied that throughout society, it makes a strong argument for lowering consumption instead of increasing supply.
That's wonderful.
And there's a few recycled materials around the place as well. There used to be some beautiful old farm sheds here. They were rotten near the ground, but some reusable components higher up. So you'll see many features around the place. For example, this lining under here, this is all native beech, which became the weatherboard or the sidings, I think you call it in North America, on the outside of the building. It used to have a paint on top, but we kind of recycled that and made it kind of a funky new modern lining.
It works. It works.
The passive design of this place is that everything's as well insulated as it can be within cost parameters. For example, here we've got timber joinery, deliberately not aluminium because it's self-insulating. It's also a style thing. It's great housing for the high quality double glazed units there. And the recess here from the outside of the building means that we're really not getting any weather on it. So it's limiting its natural seasonal warpage and movement there.
Makes sense. And what about the peaked roof? Does that have anything to do with design? Does that capture heat in a better way? Or?
Absolutely. We had some constraints of orientation here because of the size of the land we're on. So that was a balance where the sunniest face is to the left of this roof, and we wanted the overhanging veranda to be on that sunniest face, such that we got full winter sun, but zero midday summer sun. So it's a calculated overhang on that veranda. Conversely, on this face, which is slightly more towards the setting sun, we wanted that extra boost in the evening before the sun sets. And as the sun comes through this window, some of the materials that it hits the other side are deliberately designed to absorb heat and give you that thermal mass long-term storage, which is given out throughout the night.
So I've seen in the last few years a lot of places that call themselves eco-lodges or eco-friendly, eco-something, but they aren't anywhere near as efficient or as smart as this building. What are the things that make this different?
Well, everybody has their own take on sustainability. This is very much a mainstream business. We can't claim it's environmentally friendly, it's just environmentally less bad. And through the efforts which we've made, which weren't actually that huge, we've made 50% at least energy savings compared to what's normal.
And so what are the things that give you that energy savings?
Well, the passive designs really are the main thing, Richard. The things that we do nothing, no input at all. Things like this veranda here. It's got the calculated overhang. You can see we're almost towards midwinter now. And look at it right now. There's the sun coming straight in through those windows in the morning, heating up just at the time of day you want it to heat up. This was 3 or 4 months ago in the peak of summer. You'd see you've just got just a tiny bit of sun in the morning there, but the midday summer sun, which is baking hot here in summer, wouldn't be going through that window at all. That's passive design at its best. Then once the heat's inside the building, it can't escape very easily. We've got high quality double glazing, we've got timber joinery everywhere, we've got underfloor insulation, we've got super thick insulated walls and ceilings. There are no weak links in the chain. We could do better, of course, and every time you get the opportunity to build again or to make a renovation, that's the opportunity to put in the next higher standard.
If I'm a traveler from the States and I'm going to come to this part of the world of New Zealand, and I have a choice between this and an equivalent lodge that is not as efficient or not as smart, why would I choose this over that?
Well, why wouldn't you? You won't feel any difference except benefit. There's certainly no price difference. In fact, this one's priced a little more affordably than many of its rivals. I think from an ownership point of view, how can we achieve a cheaper price but still spend money on the extra infrastructure? Well, it's easy. We borrowed the money, and the savings on our power bills from day one exceeded the extra money we borrowed, or at least the loan repayments.
So this is smart business.
It's a total no-brainer. It's what sustainability is all about.
Da 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 da